I love that. I think that's so important that, just because maybe there is a program wide rule that you can't play that out, if children aren't asking the question, I think the quicker you're putting the kibosh on their interest through even dialogue, the more they're going to start to feel desperate to want to talk about it or play it out, and that, to engage in some dialogue with them about why that rule may have come into existence. Yeah.
I agree with
Jamie, yeah, go
everything
ahead.
Sarah said, like ditto, ditto, ditto. I felt like it was in many ways me talking. I was thinking to say some of that. And it was like, she just said it, she just said it, she just said it. I think the only piece I would add is for us as people who are directors, program administrators, coaches, specialists, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, all of us who are involved in the lives of our youngest citizens to really think about what we find is there's a gap there. And when we're saying no gunplay, what we're really saying is, as the adult, I haven't yet developed the capacity or the wherewithal for that. So because I haven't done my work, and I stand fast on this, then we shut it. I'm going to shut it down. And children do exactly what Sarah said. They find a way around it, a way under it, and a way through it to still engage in that play. They'll say, is Mr. Sean looking? Mr. Sean's not looking? Okay, go ahead. They literally at 3 and 4 and 5 can figure that out to know this person is watching and not watching. So let's do that thing that is this almost incurable urge for them to engage in, because it is connected, we found out, to power. But the work is for us. And I feel like this topic is really about, Barb, on that anti-bias continuum, because we're really saying our values are showing, your values are showing in this way that says you haven't really thought about them. So my values, perceptions, and beliefs about, weapons or guns and how that seeps down into gunplay. And for me, it's on that same continuum of, if people are saying, well, no gunplay because guns are violent, but then the house across the street caught on fire, and for a whole month, all the children wanted to talk about were fires. But because the teacher didn't have the capacity for it, children had their dolls in the wooden playhouse saying, it's burning, it's burning. And she didn't, it was scaring her, because she brought it to the coaching conversation that I think something is going on with these children. Well, yeah, they're working out what they took in. Hello, preschool is nothing but a group therapy room. This is why children end up pushing out everything they've taken in. Like all of this work is based on psychology. So that therapeutic milieu runs parallel to everything we do. I think this is where teacher education isn't doing this job in terms of that lift that's required of that preparing us for this will come up early and often. So that gap gets created, and then we lean on something like a policy that only creates an inequity. And it doesn't just create the inequity for children, but it creates the inequity for us as the adults, because we still don't have the capacity to even engage in a conversation to say, wow, so how are we playing with the guns? So how did you all get to this decision? Just some curious questions. You're going to get all kinds of responses from them. And I'm speaking from experience now. For me, to literally being curious and asking a bunch of questions. And one time the group of kids said, I was actually in Georgia, and then they called me Mr. B. Mr. B, just come play with us. Come play with us. I was asking too many questions. So what did the kids realize? If you just come play with us, you'll figure out what's going on. And sometimes that's true, and sometimes that's not. I play video games with my, let me rephrase that. I try to play video games with my nephews, and then they're like, please stop and go in the other room because I'm just so bad at it. But that curiosity, we still have to have around areas that we're not competent. I'm not competent as a video player. So when I try to situate myself there to learn from them, to figure out what the need is, I get some feedback. Saying no weapon play says I don't want any feedback from anyone, when children actually experience these things all the time. Like it's like last year, a lot of people were wanting trainings and workshops and PDs on grief. And they were like, oh my God, children are experiencing grief for the first time. And it's like, actually, no, children see death often. It's how it's situated in the developmental context with the caring, responsive adult that changes it. You like in Sarah's books on trauma, fundamentally the only difference between children in the healing situation and the non-healing situation Guess what? The only difference is the children in the healing situation have at least one responsive adult. The children in the non-healing situation, it's the absence of responsive adults. So if we actually frame it from that perspective, then when children are talking about gunplay or all those things that are on the anti-bias continuum, we've got to first ask ourselves questions. So I'm going to stop there, Barb, because I feel like I'm getting into my next week's talk around that thing that's happening after my talk.
Yeah, good.
You should to hear about that, because it all comes together for children. And then what they pick up on early and often is, haha, Mr. Sean doesn't have an answer. Or, you know, I asked my dad already, I asked my mom, I asked my oma, I asked my abuelita. Nobody's giving me a response. This must be really important. Let me not let go of this. It's important to the adults, but nobody's they're rendering me silent. So that notion of that brave conversation, Barb, is what comes up for me. Like, and that's work for us. We don't just show up with it. We've got to take a step back and say, I've got to build some capacity here. I've got to build some knowledge. Then I need to build some muscle memory by actually doing it, engaging with children and being okay with. My favorite thing now with young children is to say, I don't know. I'm going to learn from you all. And to sit with them literally in ambiguity, which is not what we talk about in education. Like, it is so foreign in a coaching session to tell teachers, you don't have to have an answer. They're like, what? I might lose my job if I don't have the answer. And that comes into play here. Just being curious, but that curiosity doesn't mean I need to end up having an answer. I don't need to put it in a box, because the children that I'm with this year who want to engage in gunplay may have some clear reasons why. The group next year may engage in gunplay, and it's totally a different reason and rationale. And if we understand it, then we can meet that developing need in a rich, developmentally appropriate way. Okay, I'm going to stop now. See, Barb, you got me on that.
I'm so glad that I was muted.
The comments are like blowing up. Lori Ann's like, truth, 100%, Mr. B. Lynette says, preach it, Mr. Sean. People are liking your group therapy, your youngest citizens. No, I was like, Sean, you got to go into the Facebook group and watch this and transcribe it, because you just wrote like a keynote speech you're doing somewhere. Yeah, Sarah's like clapping for you over there.
It's a good thing
like,
I was
we're
muted,
all like,
because
yes.